Elizabeth Short is the most famous murder victim in American history, yet almost everything you think you know about her is fiction. She was born in Boston in 1924. As a teenager, severe asthma attacks led to a major lung surgery, and doctors told her she needed a milder climate to survive. At 18, she moved to California to live with her father, a man she hadn't seen since she was 6 years old. During World War II, she accepted a marriage proposal from Major Matthew Gordon Jr., an Army Air Force officer recovering from a crash in India. He died in a second crash in August 1945, before they could marry. The media would later paint her as an aspiring movie star and a call girl, but grand jury records and district attorney files show no evidence she was ever a prostitute, and she had 0 acting credits or jobs to her name. She was simply a 22-year-old waitress. To understand the woman who was actually killed, we have to strip away decades of pulp fiction tropes. This is the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. On January 9, 1947, a 25-year-old salesman named Robert Red Manley dropped Elizabeth off right here. This is the last definitively confirmed sighting of her alive. Later that evening, patrons allegedly spotted her a few blocks away at the Crown Grill cocktail lounge. After that, she vanishes. For 6 entire days, Elizabeth Short disappears from the historical record. There are no confirmed sightings, no phone calls, and no paper trail to indicate where she went or who was with. This 6-day void gave the public and the press exactly what they needed: a blank, unprovable canvas to project their wildest, most sensational narratives. On the morning of January 15th, her body was found in a vacant dirt lot in the largely undeveloped Leimert Park neighborhood. She had been completely severed in 2 and carefully posed. The killer had taken extraordinary, meticulous measures. The body was entirely drained of blood and washed clean before being dumped. Her face had been slashed from the corners of her mouth to her ears, a wound known as a Glasgow smile. The killer used a 1930s surgical technique, a hemicorporectomy, transecting the spine precisely between the 2nd and 3rd lumbar vertebrae. This cleanly severed the duodenum and spinal cord without fracturing bone, requiring advanced medical training. The official coroner's report starkly contradicts the urban legends that followed. Despite widespread rumors, the autopsy confirms there were no cigarette burns on her body, and she had no congenital anatomical anomalies. The forensic evidence points directly to a highly disciplined, methodical individual, entirely different from the chaotic, deranged monster described in the evening papers. Look at the massive, industrial scale of the 1940s newspaper machine. Reporters swarmed the vacant lot, trampling the physical evidence. The Los Angeles Examiner even called Elizabeth's mother in Boston and lied, telling her that her daughter had won a beauty contest, just to pry personal details from her before revealing the murder. The intense coverage drew the killer's attention. A suspicious manila envelope arrived at the Examiner, addressed using words cut and pasted from newspaper clippings. Inside were Elizabeth's birth certificate, business cards, and an address book. The sender carefully wiped the entire packet down with gasoline. Just like the washed body, this effectively destroyed all usable fingerprint evidence. The press continually published these highly specific case details. Over the following weeks, this reckless reporting triggered over 60 false confessions, completely overwhelming police resources. The relentless drive to sell papers fatally compromised the investigation. By deliberately muddying the waters and trampling the crime scene, the media actively shielded the real killer from facing justice. The LAPD ultimately investigated over 150 men. Early, promising leads like Red Manley, the salesman who dropped her at the Biltmore, were cleared after passing multiple polygraph examinations. Historians and detectives often debate 2 main historical suspects. The first is Leslie Dillon, a former Los Angeles mortician's assistant, who was eventually entirely cleared when district attorney files placed him up in San Francisco at the time of the murder. The second is Dr. George Hodel, a man with the exact formal surgical training required to perform a precise hemicorporectomy. In 1949, the LAPD planted wiretaps inside Hodel's home. The recordings captured him telling a visitor, "Supposin' I did kill the Black Dahlia. They couldn't prove it now. Maybe I did kill my secretary." Investigators also feared a wider pattern. Notice the misshapen letter P and the specific mix of capitalized and lowercase letters on the left, taken from the 1946 Lipstick Murders ransom note in Chicago. It closely matches the Dahlia Avengers mailed letters on the right. The massive volume of viable local suspects, totally tangled up with legitimate fears of a cross-country serial killer on the loose, paralyzed the investigation and prevented the LAPD from ever closing the case. The name Black Dahlia was not something Elizabeth Short called herself. Reporters invented it shortly after her death as a morbid play on words, inspired by the 1946 film noir The Blue Dahlia, starring Veronica Lake. To sell a compelling narrative, the press retroactively painted her as a tragic adventuress who prowled Hollywood Boulevard in sheer black clothing, permanently altering her historical identity. When we discard the rumors, the only absolute truths left are the terrifying surgical precision of the bisection and the cold, calculated countermeasure of the gasoline-washed mail. The case remains officially unsolved because of the exact environment that made it famous: trampled physical evidence, malicious media interference, and severe information contamination ruined any chance for a conviction. The enduring tragedy of Elizabeth Short is that her identity was stolen twice, first by the person who ended her life in a vacant lot, and then by the legend of the Black Dahlia.